The story begins with a man living in a dingy, cramped apartment. The film focuses on a man named Fritz Honka, commonly called Honka. One night, Honka is seen carrying a body. It turns out that the body belongs to a woman who used to sell herself, confused about what to do with the body. Honka decides to mutilate it. He disposes of some parts and hides others in the walls of his apartment. The scene then shifts to two young people who like to drink soda named Petra and Willie. Besides enjoying soda, Petra also likes to smoke, while Petra is looking for a lighter. Honka appears and lights her cigarette. Honka is clearly infatuated with Petra, who has a beautiful face and body. The scene then moves to a bar called Who, or the Golden Glove, where Honka often hangs out, besides being close to his home. The bar is also a cheap prostitution spot because of its strategic location, and the many women selling themselves. The bar is always crowded. However, most of the women there are older and considered past. Their prime Honka himself has downed 2 bottles of liquor, which fuels his desire to find a woman to be with. However, none of the older women want to be with him due to his unattractive appearance. Eventually, Honka asks the bar waiter to find anyone as long as he can have some action that night to feel better for work. The next morning, finally, the waiter manages to find an extremely elderly woman named Jera. Despite her age, Honka, driven by his high desire, decides to take Jera to his apartment. The moment Jera enters Hana's apartment, she immediately covers her nose due to the overwhelming stench. Honka explains that the smell comes from the downstairs neighbor who cooks all kinds of meat every day. Before proceeding with their encounter, Honka intentionally grabs his drink to get drunk. Hoping to ignore Jera's wrinkled face in short mourning, comes Honka ready to go to work, wakes Jera to leave after packing up. Honka works as a cleaner in a factory. However, instead of leaving, Jera decides to clean Honk's apartment. Honka is shocked to find Jera still there. When he returns home, this leads Honka to hit Gerda. Surprisingly, Honka lets Jera back in when he sees the apartment clean and smelling fresh, and allows Jera to retrieve her dentures that had come out due to his punch at that moment while fixing Gerda's dentures. Honka listened to her story. It turned out that Jera was homeless. She offered to clean the house and be Honka maid as long as she could live with him. Initially, Honka refused, but when Jera mentioned that she had a daughter, Honka eventually allowed her to stay, hoping that Gerta's daughter would be as beautiful as Petra. However, he had one condition, that Gerta's daughter must agree to marry him after a few days of living together. Honka did not treat Gerta well. He took her to the bar with the intention of asking when he could meet Gerta's daughter. However, Jera nonchalantly replied that she didn't know where her daughter was, annoyed by Gerta's response. Honka accidentally broke the glass he was holding, prompting the bar manager to tell him to clean up the blood in the restroom. At that moment, an officer approached Jera and offered her a place to stay with the assurance that she would be treated well. When Honka returned, he didn't see his beloved Jera, which made him furious as there was no one else he could be with. Honka bought a bottle of liquor, and since Jera was gone, tried to persuade 3 elderly women to accompany him. However, one of the women passed out on the way due to excessive drinking. The other 2 had to leave her because of the local scolding when they arrived at the apartment. The 2 women also noticed the foul smell, and as usual, Honka blamed his neighbors with the 2 elderly women. Honka requested them to perform an inappropriate act. The 2 elderly women clearly refused his bizarre request. Angered by their refusal, Honka eventually lost his temper. One of the women agreed, but asked to go to the bathroom first. After waiting for a long time, the woman never returned as she chose to escape rather than comply with Hana's demand. Honka, having lost his sanity due to drunkenness, finally did something unimaginable. He killed the remaining woman by smashing her head against the table with no other choice. Honka once again dismembered the woman and hid her body behind the plywood wall. A few weeks later, while getting ready for work and lighting his cigarette, Honka was suddenly hit by a car because he didn't look both ways before crossing. As a result, he was fired from his job for being absent for a long time. However, after Hana's accident, eventually Honka realized and decided to quit drinking alcohol. After some time, he managed to completely stop, despite experiencing withdrawal symptoms. Simultaneously, Honka was hired as a security guard at a mall for the night shift. So he was no longer unemployed on his first night. Honka got spooked by strange noises in the bathroom room, but when he checked, it was just a cleaner named Helga Honka, who usually only saw older women at his hangout spot, was clearly very interested in Helga, who was in her 30s. This was evident when Honka wanted to give her a welcome gift. Unfortunately, his plan was thwarted as Helga's husband showed up to celebrate her birthday. Honka, who had completely quit drinking, wasn't tempted to touch the offered liquor. A few days later, Helga visited Honka looking sad. It turned out that Helga wasn't happy because her husband relied solely on her income for their daily needs. After letting out her frustrations, Helga pulled out a bottle of liquor and asked Honka to drink with her. Feeling bad for refusing, Honka gave in and drank. Because of that, Honka quickly bought more liquor for his apartment and returned to his drunken habits when Helga and her husband invited him to drink again. Honka didn't refuse since he had already relapsed, however. When Helga's husband stepped out, Honka, who was naturally attracted to Helga, tried to rape her, but life doesn't always go as planned. Helga managed to escape Hana's grasp. Seeing his prey run, Honka quickly locked the door from inside to avoid her husband's wrath. After a long absence from his hangout spot, Honka returned proudly, showing off his new job and treating everyone there. At that moment, an old yet new woman came to flirt with Honka. In the end, Honka tried to be with her, however. Since it had been so long, Honka, who was out of practice, couldn't perform well, causing the woman to laugh and mock him. And of course, this made Honka annoyed. However, unlike his other victims, the woman applied a burning cream to Hana's penis, causing unbearable heat. At that moment, the woman kicked Honka. Honka, enraged, strangled the woman and ended her life by smashing her head with a bottle, feeling like a failure in controlling his urge to drink. Honka became even more brutal. This was proven when he approached a homeless woman who was eating leftovers. After bringing her to his apartment, the woman kept talking, making Honka lose his desire to enjoy her finally. Honka stabbed the woman right in the neck with scissors. The scene shifts to a family living right below Hana's room, having a meal together. When the daughter was about to sip her vegetable soup, she found maggots in her bowl. It turned out that the maggots came from Honka's room. Meanwhile, Honka, who was at the Hue bar, met Petra and Willie, who happened to want to drink soda. Seeing them, rekindled Honka desires. When Willie went to the bathroom, Honka tried to approach Petra, but he was too late. There was another man, causing Honka to retreat in the bathroom. Willie, who was peeing next to another man, tried to be friendly by greeting him. However, since the man was drunk, he peed on Willie, soaking his pants and jeans jacket. Petra, tired of waiting for Willie, decided to look for him, but Willie, embarrassed to meet Petra while smelling like urine, told Petra to go home first. Seeing his beloved girl going home alone, Honka followed Petra, intending to enjoy her fresh body. However, Hana's action was halted when he saw his apartment on fire after the fire was extinguished. A panicked Honka tried to flee the scene. Fortunately, the officers there quickly apprehended Honka with the discovery of 4 mutilated bodies. At the end of the story, we are shown the real faces of the victims. Honka, the usual places HKA hung out, the items he used to kill his victims, and the victims' photos. Finally, the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.